Hello everyone, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Max, and today I'm going to be reviewing WandaVision Episode 3. Alright, so when it comes to WandaVision, I loved the first two episodes. I think the sitcom route that they went was really done well. And Episode 3 was just something I was even more pumped for because I saw where the show was going. They were kind of leaving clues throughout the first two episodes. And yeah, just kind of getting into Episode 3. This entire episode is in color, and I believe the rest of the episodes in the series will be as well. The first two were in black and white, but now they have transitioned, or rather they transitioned at the end of Episode 2, and they stayed in color for the entirety of Episode 3. This episode was by far my favorite because I feel like we're really getting into the world of WandaVision now. We clearly saw in the first two episodes that something was not right, and that is just even more amplified in the third episode. There's a lot of cool nods to things, especially... I'm a huge Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan. It's my favorite Marvel property of all time, and they had a nod to this soap that was mentioned in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4. In WandaVision, there's a commercial for Hydra Soak, which is it's this blue soap that's portrayed to kind of take away all the troubles in your life, and there's a nice tropical background in the commercial. In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they were, I won't give too much away, but Phil Coulson talks to another character about this blue soap that mind controls people and was put out by Hydra. I don't want to go into too much for people who haven't seen the show, but it was definitely a callback to that, even down to the color. And I think the tropical backdrop was a kind of callback to a certain event in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. involving Phil Coulson. So that was really cool to see them kind of finally acknowledge that show, because I know Kevin Feige just kind of pretends it doesn't exist. But now that he said the multiverse brings in possibilities for everything, hopefully we'll be able to see more references or possible characters brought in from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. My favorite thing in this episode was definitely when everything started to kind of go awry near the second half of the episode. When Wanda was going through everything and getting ready to give birth and kind of resituating and reorganizing the house, I thought those scenes were good. There were some really funny ones in there, but my jaw dropped when Geraldine was talking to Wanda, and Wanda mentioned how she's a twin and her brother was killed, and Geraldine is like, he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he? That my jaw dropped, and I got like those chills that you get when you watch a good TV show, because that's when I knew everything was about to change, and it did, because we saw Wanda threw out Geraldine from what we know is a physical reality that Wanda can control. I think that was the biggest revelation in this episode, is that Wanda does to an extent control the reality she's in, and it is a physical world. We saw Geraldine was thrown out of this kind of staticky looking, what I imagine is probably going to look like a bubble or some sort of wall. And then FBI agents or sword agents surround her. And it was just the big, almost cliffhanger of the episode, because it did close out after that scene, but I think it really sets up, especially with them showing Wanda almost as a villain in that scene when she throws her out, is kind of setting up what the show could become. Because if Wanda's really wanting to manipulate the reality she's in, and she doesn't want any outsiders or people trying to persuade her, change her otherwise, that the fact that she's willing to kick people out to keep things the way it is, I think could be really interesting, especially with who we think is Wu. It sounds like Wu, with him going over the radio saying, Wanda, who's doing this to you, Wanda? I think that lets us know that the FBI is definitely on her case. And then we've seen many mentions of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is basically the offshoot or continuation of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I think all of these things in the final episodes are going to kind of come together and clash. And it'll be really interesting to see if Wanda is framed as the villain, or if there is an external force who's doing this to Wanda. And maybe she's able to control some things, but not everything. I think that'd be really, really interesting to see. And then also how that kind of branches off into Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange 2. This show, along with obviously the rest of the MCU, has some fantastic humor in it. And I can't remember the character's name. I need to look him up because he is one of my favorites. Every time he's on screen, it's hilarious. He's the guy who kind of looks like David Schwimmer with a mustache and skinnier, Dottie's husband. And there's a scene where Wanda is kind of going through pain, and she's shouting and she's manipulating all of the stuff around her. And apparently the whole town, they're having a power outage because of Wanda, and it cuts to Dottie and her husband, and he's reading the paper. She walks in the room and she's like, honey, do these earrings make me look fat? And the lights go out at that exact moment, and he says, oh, thank God. It's just so funny to me. The way his lines are said, or like the way they're written, however, whoever decided to have that character like that, even though it's a really small role in the grand scope of the show, at least for now, I think is just brilliant. And everybody else has some great humor too. He's definitely my favorite when it comes to humor. Something else that I think is really interesting is we see all of the characters kind of start to not necessarily break down, but more of, they're very aware of what is going on. I don't know if this is something that was just not really shown in the first 2 episodes, but Agnes, the other neighbors, the doctor, they're all experiencing this kind of almost like an awakening. Like they realize what's going on and they're trying to get through to Vision, obviously. They're saying like the small town is so hard to escape. And then one of the neighbors was going to say something and Agnes cut him off. So it's really seems like a lot of different forces are playing into this world, and Wanda's really the center of it. So I'm super curious to see who is there for what reason, who is planted in this reality, who is there possibly unwillingly, and who is there to kind of maybe control Wanda in the situation. I think that'll be really interesting to see, and I'm so pumped to see the series moving forward. The only negative thing I have to say about it, but it's also something I love, is that there's 1 episode a week. The episodes are shorter, which is the only kind of thing that gets to me, because if it was like for example, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., those shows were an hour long each. We have 9 episodes of WandaVision, 3 which have passed. It said we're going to get 6 hours of content, and so far we have an hour and 20 minutes roughly. So I'm wondering if the final episode will be more of like a movie, or, I'm really wondering when the episodes are going to ramp up and kind of be this bigger TV fantasy drama action thing that we've grown to know with shows such as these over the years. But that's about all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.